And Matthew's here with the business news. Give us a quick look of what's been happening in the Asian markets.
Yeah, let's take a look there, where most of the markets have closed for the day's trading. And look at the Nikkei in Japan. That's had a very successful trading session, up more than 2% by the close. As usual, weaker yen there helping companies that sell things abroad. Just the Hang Seng in Hong Kong making some losses today.
Now, back here in France, youth unemployment is on the agenda today.
That's right. President François Hollande will be hosting at the Élysée Palace some of his other fellow European leaders, 24 of them, in fact, to talk about youth unemployment, because, of course, it's a real continuing problem here. Just to give you a sense of the scale of the issue in Europe, around 1 in 4 young people are out of work, 23.5% to be precise. That's 5.6 million young people in particularly badly hit countries like Greece and like Spain. We actually see that rate rising to more than 50%, more than 1 in 2 young people out of work.
Now, so can we expect lots of handshakes and photo opportunities or any real action?
Yeah, well, as well, of course, as the photograph we're bound to see on the steps of the Élysée Palace. We'll wait to see whether there are any new announcements, but there's been a lot of playing down of this summit, actually. What we're hearing is that it's more a case of following up on an earlier summit back in July when, for example, €6 billion was promised for a scheme. It's called the Youth Guarantee Scheme that promises to give young people who've been out of work for more than 4 months, either some more education or the promise of a job. Even Chancellor Angela Merkel's spokesman playing down expectations, saying that this is more a first stock taking on those earlier decisions.
Now, one key source of jobs in Europe is tourism, but there are signs that the continent is losing ground to other regions.
Yes, interesting this. So tourism, of course, crucial here in Europe with all the, old buildings and beaches.
The Eiffel Tower.
Beautiful, exactly, in France more than anywhere else. And in fact, it's estimated by the European Commission, it creates about 9.7 million jobs in Europe. But as you say, Shona, there's a fear that Europe might be losing some ground. Well, to talk more about global tourism, we've got Steve Joyce here in the studio now. He is the head of Choice Hotels International. That's a company that owns brands including Comfort Inn, Quality Inn and the Clarion group of hotels. Well, Steve, thanks very much for joining us here.
Good morning.
As we've just been hearing, Europe obviously does really well at the moment, but there are some estimates from the UN that it's expected to take a smaller share over the next 20 years or so. Are there any things European countries should be doing to stop that decline?
Well, what's funny is the European countries were out in front, particularly with India and China, in terms of improving the visa process and allowing the customers to get here easier. So as a result, they built market share very early on. But now what's happening is several other countries have seen the success, for example, that France has had, and they are beginning to do the same thing. So we're happy to see any of these folks coming to our hotels, whether it's a Choice branded Clarion, Comfort, or Quality, which the Chinese travelers, in our experience, are looking for value so they can spend all their money on retail and luxury products here. But in certain countries like Turkey, for example, they are giving visas at the airport. They're looking at the value of those 1 billion travelers that hit the road last year, and this year there will be more than 1 billion. And everyone's fighting for the market share. Europe was very much ahead, took a lot of the U.S. market share over several years. U.S. is trying to come back now, but it is the ease of travel that allows the Chinese to come in mass numbers to those countries.
Now, do visitors from countries like China, Brazil, and Russia have different needs from the visitors you're more used to dealing with?
Well, in China, it's an interesting group. There's certainly the luxury travelers, which are the new elite. But what is really happening is more of the mass middle class that is now able to travel. They want to be in a room that's roughly 60 euros. They want to be multiple occupancy in that room, and they're going to spend all their money on Gucci and Prada. And you can see them coming back from Champs-Élysées, carrying their bags, and huddling into the rooms 3, 4 to a time. You have to serve them congee for breakfast, but other than that, they're terrific travelers. Choice is in particular an attractive set of brands for them because of the value that we offer. But they are coming in masses, not just to France, but also to the U.S. and now some other countries as well.
And when you've got hotels all around the world, do you see vast differences when you're recruiting people? Because it's a very specialist sector, isn't it? Are there differences in the types of people who are more suited to hospitality generally?
There are, and with some cultures it comes naturally. So India, for example, is a very service-oriented culture, and the people there you can immediately put to work in our hotels, and they treat the guests terrifically. Some other countries takes a little more training, and you look for the right type, because not always the service mentality is not always built into certain cultures, and some cultures don't respect it as much. And as a result, you have to work very hard to find the right people that really like serving other human beings. It's a terrific business because all we really do is try to make people happy. And at Choice, we work very hard to make sure that our guests feel welcome and relaxed in a service environment that takes care of people's needs, but isn't stiff and formal and is friendly.
Now, one thing we've seen here in Paris in particular, you've talked already about low-cost hotels, but we've seen this increase in these super deluxe, hotels closing for several years sometimes to make themselves more appealing. Do you think that's sustainable, given what you've said about visitors who want to sleep several to a room and spend their money shopping?
That's not where the mass traveler is going. So the bulk of the increase in these the billion of travelers are really more looking for value in their hotel rooms. Now you have a new elite in several countries where enormous wealth has been created, and that's who those hotels are being designed for. There's space in the hotel business for everyone. We don't operate at the luxury end. We kind of like the moderate tier and upscale brands. So at Clarion, we run a 4-star brand, quality it's 3 and comfort's 2. And those hotels serve their customers very well. We can serve almost any need from a guest, but we are not going to provide the €700 a night experience that includes 1,000 count sheets, if that's what you're interested in.
I'm certainly interested in that. Well, Steve Joyce from Choice Hotels International, thanks very much for joining us here today.
And thank you both. That was business.